Oh man, so the market seems to be powering back some of the losses from Friday, and all the major indices have opened up green today despite a lot of supply chain issues, a lot of fear of inflation, and a really important week coming up with Wednesday CPI reading. So let's take a look at what we're looking at. So we can see that the S&P is up 0.4%. You can see the Dow is up 0.45, and you can see the Nasdaq is up 0.40, Russell 0.7. So everything is broadly up. You've got oil hitting, multi-year highs here, up 2.24%, and gold is flat as well. We'll come on to Bitcoin very shortly. So the majority of the gains are actually coming from energy, and in particular renewable energy, which we're going to come on to shortly, materials plays, and financials. And the reason we're getting some uptick in financials are we have a lot of earnings coming from some of the top banks this week, including Citigroup, including Morgan Stanley, including Goldman Sachs, and various others coming up this week. Okay, so really important week as we kick off into earnings weeks, and the market is expecting loan growth and better interest rate margins for a lot of the financial plays, which is why we're seeing an uptick in financials. Of course, with energies and materials, we've seen a whole bunch of inflation and supply chain issues, and there's a crazy amount of demand for these stocks, and that's why we're seeing some uptick in some of the renewable plays. So before we come into this, actually, let's take a look at the S&P. And we can see that the SPY index has given us so far, as we're still trading the day obviously, but on this daily candle, if it finishes where we are at now or any higher, we would have a bullish engulfing candle. Okay, so we've just pared back all of the losses from Friday and some, which is a really bullish move going into the week, and it's a great, we're definitely quite far away from where we were just a few days ago on the 4th of October, where the SPY was sitting at 426. We're now sitting at 439. So a good, if you were buying the dips here, which we were encouraging you to do on this channel, not financial advice, you would now be sitting between 3 and 4% up in just buying that dip, right? And if you just get in the habit of buying the dips every time the S&P fancies going on a dip, training yourself to buy on these dips, you will be doing just fine, okay? And it's not going to give you the returns of Bitcoin or altcoins and some of the crazy stuff we cover on this channel, but you need a bit of this in your portfolio as well. Too much volatility is not good for the heart, is it, guys? It's not. I don't want to give you guys all blood pressure, so you need some safe investments as well, even though that we invest in high growth companies here as well. So there you go, guys. That's your S&P. Now let's flick over to the VIX index, which is our volatility index. And you can see that we've got a volatility coming down today, okay? So we've had volatility open up at 20.41, sitting at 18.48, and the market's pretty chill right now. We've not seen a spike as we've seen in previous weeks. We've not got an Evergrande crisis today. We kind of knew what we were expecting going into this Monday, and nothing has come out of left field to worry investors. So VIX is nice and calm, and people are thinking rationally at this moment, waiting for earnings to come in this week. So let's take a look at the sticks, and what we can see here is we got SunPower up 10%, okay, so a renewable play. And when we look through this, we're going to see a few different trends, okay? We're going to see Bitcoin plays doing really well, because Bitcoin, as we're at the time of speaking, is sitting at, let's show you guys, sitting at 57,500. If you guys are interested in Bitcoin and my technical analysis on Bitcoin, do check out that video. But this has just formed a really important bullish pattern, and we've got a price target for Bitcoin on the conservative side to break 60,000 very shortly, and then head up to the next resistance at 64,000 on our stretch goal. So really positive situation for Bitcoin, and that is why you're seeing a lot of these Bitcoin plays really pushing on. I mean, you've got Mara, you've got Riot, BTCM, all of these plays, Hut Mining, Coinbase doing well as well. These all move in solidarity to Bitcoin, so no wonder they're up nice and handsomely. And I've got a good position in a lot of these stocks, particularly Coinbase. So I'll be benefiting from that. Now, you also have the renewable energy plays, okay? So we're seeing SunPower doing well, Solar Edge doing well, Enphase, which I have a big position in, doing really well. Again, guys, I made the video when I told you guys I was buying the dip on Enphase at 140s, and now that's sitting comfortably, bounced straight back up at 160s before we've even gone on a run, right? This is what Enphase does. At 140, for me, that's undervalued, and I'm buying the dip all day long on 140, and I made that clear on this channel. Riot Blockchain, another Bitcoin play, EVgo, an EV play. Again, renewable is the theme we're seeing here, guys. Canadian Solar, look at these guys. These are all moving. Matterport, up, SPAC, which is a bit of a high risk play, interestingly. ChargePoint, again, renewable, right? Electric vehicles. Tesla also doing well. Where was Tesla? We saw that. Tesla up 1.15%. For Tesla's size of company, that's a good day, 1.5% up on Tesla. NIO, again, another EV play, up 1%. Palantir up 1.5%, interestingly. Chip companies up. Corsair Gaming up. So it's a really green market today. I think very few reds. Let's get to the bottom. Let's see what's in the red. So we got Grub, Etsy, Deliveroo. Interesting. So a lot of the stay-at-home plays are kind of getting a bit of a hit, right? So Uber, Deliveroo, Etsy, Just Eat, all the similar types of companies. Facebook, Snap, so the social medias haven't moved that well. Twitter as well, all kind of sitting here. Lucid, interestingly, down 2% when the rest of the EV plays are going up. That's an interesting one for me there. Maybe it's a bit too high risk. Maybe it has pushed on a bit. We'd have to look into that. Why is that down? Because you got NIO and Tesla doing well. A lot of the solar plays and EV plays doing well. ChargePoint was even doing well, so that's interesting. GGPI, the other SPAC, is very interesting, which is taking is that Polestar public. You've got Shopify, you've got Airbnb, Merck is sitting at 0.25. That you can see here from the spark lines, it kind of came down in parring losses. Part of that is to do with Merck now saying you have to take a cocktail of tablets versus just their one anti-COVID tablet. Astra Space Company, Square up 0.8. So yeah, it's just a green market, guys. I mean, green market. And you kind of get this on a Monday. When you've got an important week coming up with earnings and CPI, oftentimes you do get a really buoyant Monday as kind of people are allocating their money, picking their positions, coming in with a clear head, with a game plan. But then when information starts to come out during the week, they then alter their plays and it gets a bit more volatile. So like you saw on the VIX index, it's quite calm. Market's not too shocked. They're kind of just executing trades, which they kind of thought about and discussed over the weekend. But that can change during the day, intraday today, and also tomorrow, right? People can start getting nervy about earnings, or we get the first set of earnings and we start getting a bit worried about that and the anecdotes we hear from some of these companies. So yeah, two key things we want to be looking for this week, guys, and it's going to be a common theme in all these videos this week, are supply chain shortages and wage inflation. So we want to find out, how is inflation and how are supply chain shortages being received at companies. We want to listen to the earnings reports, listen in on some of these earnings calls, and hear if these CEOs and management teams indicate any anecdotes around them struggling, right? Don't forget, Cathie Wood also came out with her notion that she feels companies will start to come out with evidence of double and triple ordering where they have excess supply in their inventory, which would be very interesting as well. Let's see if we hear signs of that. But so far, market's looking good. The market is up. You've got the S&P 0.48, Dow 0.51, NASDAQ 0.44, Russell 0.76. This is the kind of market where I don't need to do anything, right? We bought the dip when it went down. Let me show you again how we operated. Let's head over back to our SPY. There we go. So just coming back to here, and I'll flick across to the daily. When the market is green like this, we don't need to do anything, right? We act here. We bought the dip here. We buy dips here. We buy dips here. We buy dips here. When it's doing this bit here, we're okay. We don't need to be doing anything, okay? We don't buy in the greens. We buy when things are hurting, when things get painful, when things are red. That's when we buy. When the whole market's nice and buoyant like this, I'm not chasing these stocks at 10%, 7%, 8% up, right? I want them when they're 7, 8% down. And so these, unless there's anything here which is super juicy. I mean, for example, Matterport, I want a bigger position in Matterport. I'm not buying that at 20. 15, 16, I'm loading the boat on that. 17, I'm nibbling. But at 20, I can't be chasing that high on Matterport. So please don't be that new investor that kind of buys things because they're green and everything's looking nice and heading up. You want to build your conviction, understand the companies, wait for them to create dips into nice, juicy prices, and then start building in as well. Okay, let's take a look at a few of the plays here. Let's look at M-Phase as a great example, right? So M-Phase, this as an individual stock, you want to be buying here in May, which is what we did. And then when we got this dip here, you want to be buying this. When this was hitting 144, 145, I was letting you guys know that I'm nibbling in this area here. And now straight away from this point up, I mean, you're already 16% up before we even try to get to all-time highs. I mean, if we just take that swing there, and you held on to M-Phase just to all-time highs, doesn't need to do any more than it's already done before. That's a 59% gain on your M-Phase, right? In a steady high growth stock. This is not an altcoin or anything crazy like that. That's a good return to be had and not to be sniffed at. So M-Phase is really setting itself up for a move, which is really good. I mean, it never fell below 144, nowhere near its lows of 112 on this dip in May here. So M-Phase showing some strength. Lemonade was another one we picked some up of. Lemonade is still falling at the moment, although you can see it's kind of creating its resistance exactly at this point at 60.75. If it falls any below that, I'm buying even more of Lemonade. I'd love for it to go lower than that. I don't think we're going to see lows, because last time it fell lower than that, you're going back into November 2020, and then obviously in October is really low at 47. If we see those kind of prices, I'm buying in. But I can easily see us now heading back to 100 on Lemonade, which at 100 you've got a 66 return, and even this peak here you've got 100% return, 90% return, sorry, just on that peak. We won't even talk about the all-time highs, because this peak is a more realistic target at 116, giving you a 90% return on the stocks. This is where you want to be buying, right? You don't want to be buying here and then suffering this. You buy here and you enjoy this. If it goes down, you can feel confident buying a little bit more, because it's never been down there for a long time, right? And that's the key here on these stocks. Square was one that got a bit pricey. You finally got a dip. This is a dip for Square, and a good time to top up, because Square went on an absolute tear. That rhymed. So it's very difficult to buy Square. You got to wait for these kind of dips, and then luckily we got another one here, and you want to catch it on the uptrend, right? When things are uptrending, it's hard to buy, but you got to pick up these dips. You're never going to get it back at these prices. So if you constantly wait for a full reversal on solid stocks like Square, you rarely see them. Okay, so that's really important on these. Anything else to look at here? Coinbase, yes, let's look at Coinbase. So Coinbase, we know is going to be doing well because of, this is one I've got a big position in, and I kind of bought in a lot wrongly in the IPO, and I've admitted that mistake quite a few times. I didn't go and make that mistake again with Robinhood, stayed away from the IPO. I just got excited with the Coinbase one. I kind of started buying in. I had to average down, and my average price is still probably about where we are at, around, I think we're about there. Yeah, about 250 is my average price. I'd like to average down a bit more. I tried to on these dips. But I don't want the position to outgrow what it should be in my portfolio, right? So I didn't want to just keep averaging down and overplay the size of Coinbase in my portfolio. So that you've got to weigh that up. That's very important that you do that. If we see another dip down to 225, I can do so, but as long as the overall portfolio is growing in my other shop, I don't want too much exposure to Coinbase, especially when I hold Bitcoin and have my crypto portfolio separately, because they just move in complete correlation. So the next point for Coinbase to get to is really come back and test this 280 level. It's tested it twice here, failed to break it, came back down. It's really got to go test that and break forward, really start running into some green grass here. I mean, you got a bit of resistance at 300, but it's just green grass for Coinbase to run. I think the earnings report coming in November should really hold them in good stead to push on. So looking forward to seeing what Coinbase could do, and really just kind of looking forward to seeing how the market responds to Coinbase overall. I mean, I think the share price take an absolute battering despite some solid earnings. The regulatory concerns haven't helped, granted, but I think Coinbase has a lot of potential going forward, and they're clearly a solid platform with great numbers numerically in terms of their earnings, their KPIs. It's a very strong company. So there you go, guys. There's the market. Market's nice and green at the time of recording this. I'll go ahead and post this video out, but that's what tends to happen on a Monday ahead of a big week. You could head up a bit green because the market's nice and calm, but don't be surprised if we see a little bit of volatility spiking during the day or tomorrow as we start to get a bit more nervy around CPI reading, the inflation reading on Wednesday, and also as the earnings start to come out from some of these financial companies. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you like my perspective on the markets, then please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.